Weak shoulder stabilizers will mean you're either injured now, at risk of injury later, or they're holding you back from your full strength. A 30-second TikTok video is not going to cut it. If you are here, it's likely you've been doing this rotator cuff exercise wrong and either staying in pain or wasting your time. The theory and awareness around this movement can be confusing. I'll make it clear what to do. Hey, I'm Coach Tom and welcome to Breaking S&C. The external rotator cuff. This is the base where we pull from. If we get this stronger, then our shoulders are less likely to get injured and can handle more exercise. The more stable the base, the more you can maximize the force your bigger muscles can create. So, the outline of this video. First, we will look at the mistakes I see, then how to get over them. And later, I'll show you the regressions and progressions you need to make this right for you. There are a bunch of muscles which cause external rotation, but the ones we are trying to feel and isolate are the 3 rotator cuff muscles highlighted here. The basic movement is to get into a small squat and bring the resistance from in to out. But obviously it's more complicated than that. So let's go over the mistakes. Mistake 1, engaging the neck. This is the main culprit. This muscle wants to work and compensate your movement all the time. When the neck comes on like this, it reduces the gap between your shoulder joint and the bones at the top of the shoulder. This can lead to bones pinching on the joint, causing pain, discomfort, and eventually weakness. Next mistake, engaging other muscles around the shoulder. Many people can feel the rotator cuff exercise in various spots around the shoulder. In the front, on the side, on top. This is loading the area incorrectly and usually means you're relying on your joints, surrounding tissues, or your injured area, instead of your stabilizers. Your joints can take a bit of abuse, but relying on them long term will raise the risk of pain and injury. If we feel other muscles working other than the rotator cuff itself will turn off a little, and you'll not be strengthening it as well as you could be, thus delaying your progress and wasting your energy. Going past flexibility. Many people go as far as they can possibly go, instead of only going to where the rotator cuff takes them. If you go too far, you'll most likely turn off the right stabilizing muscles to get that far and start loading your joint and injured area. It could also make your injury worse or delay recovery. Torso shifting. This is not the worst mistake at the beginning, but it does mean you are not fully engaging the right muscles when you do this exercise. The torso shift comes from using other areas apart from the hips to stabilize, so it's a mistake we need to iron out. Choosing a progression which is too difficult for your uncompensated strength level. If you go past the strength level of your rotator cuff, they will not be able to turn on properly. You will have to compensate. So, how to fix these mistakes? To do this exercise correctly, the main area you need to feel is here, and only here. This is the junction where 3 of the 4 rotator cuff meet. Sometimes people feel it here in the upper back area, which is not too bad, but we do not want excessive movement from here. This may lead to compensation again. Neck. Pelvic floor will really help turn off the neck, but you can also shrug the shoulder down. These muscles that bring the shoulder down are the opposite muscles to the neck. As one muscle contracts, its opposite must relax, so this will help turn off the neck. And handily, these shrugging down muscles are at the same junction area. So again, everything should be felt here. Your neck may start working because of a lack of awareness, or maybe because the weight may be too much for your rotator cuff to handle alone. Try putting it on the lightest weight possible, and use your other hand to see if your neck is flicking on. If it still is, then you may need to make the exercise even easier. We want the neck to be as soft as possible. Apart from the neck that should not be on, the other muscles around the shoulder may work a bit, but we do not want to feel those other muscles working. Bracing pelvic floor will help stabilize your hips and shoulders properly and bring the tension to the right muscles. If you start feeling it in the neck, shoulder, or anywhere other than this behind the armpit area, then this is a sign your stabilizers are not really driving the movement. And so you are relying on your joint and wrong muscles to pick up the slack. If you do feel anywhere but here, it's likely you are either not bracing pelvic floor hard enough, still driving from the bigger muscles and not the rotator cuff, you are out of position and past your true flexibility range and so cannot engage the right muscles, you have chosen a progression that's too difficult and so have to compensate, or you felt it at the beginning, but you are now getting tired. In fact, a very important point as you get tired. The brain's job is to keep you alive. It will find a way to move, because evolutionary-wise, if you couldn't move, you would die. So when you are feeling it in the shoulder and elsewhere, those muscles are doing the work that the rotator cuff should be doing. If you are bracing pelvic floor and you feel the exercise in the right area, then great. However, as you start to become tired, the tension will start to move away from the right areas to the wrong ones. And your technique as a whole will slip. The body will always try and find a way to move. So if you feel the tension moving into other muscles, you have two choices. Either one, brace pelvic floor harder to bring the tension back into the right muscles and grind 1 or 2 more reps out, or 2, rest, you are done. In terms of going past flexibility, this is my good range. See, I can go further, but then I'm using other muscles to get me there. Pelvic floor will have to turn off to reach that compensated mobility. And once it's compensated, it's difficult to engage the right muscles. So only go as far as your rotator cuff muscles can take you, wherever that may be. If the range is small, then try making the exercise easier to see if you can go further. If it's still the same distance, then it's a sign you'll have to work on your flexibility a bit. But this lack of flexibility is not directly a reason why you can't get out of pain. You just have to stay within your good engagement confines and become really aware of where your safe limits are. Principles are the same for coming back in as well. If you go too far, everything will turn off, and then it will be difficult to engage again. Stay within where the rotator cuff will take you. Torso shifting. We just want to stabilize the hips more, using pelvic floor. Stabilizing the hips through pelvic floor bracing will straighten the torso, and because the hips are very connected to the shoulder, it will mean the shoulder stabilizers are engaged even better. What can also help with this is just to go into a little bit of a squat instead of standing straight. In terms of tempo, just keep the speed controlled. Otherwise you can do a tempo of 2 seconds back and 1 second out. So what to do if you have an injury or recovering from an injury? Luckily, this is often a single arm exercise, so you just have to work within what the injured side can handle. The exercise needs to be pain-free. The rotator cuff are a very small group of muscles, so you'll really have to zone in and think of that behind the armpit area doing all the work. If you feel pain, this is a sign the weight is too much, or if it happens in the middle of a set, a sign that your muscles are tiring. Rest, possibly make it easier, and go again. Watch yourself in a mirror if you can, or film yourself. So, onto the regressions and progressions. The important thing to remember is that the rotator cuff are small muscles, but still muscle. They can get stronger. The more strength, the better, so never stop progressing. Here are the ways to build this move. You may be surprised how much you need to regress in order to feel the right area working. The methods may be different, but again, the principles will be the same across all of them. Shoulder in socket, not resting through the joint. Also, don't prioritize the amount of reps you're doing. Think quality reps. If you are just coming out of the immediate 48 to 72 hours after the initial injury, then just do the movement on the side, body weight, pain-free for reps. Once you can move away from that, then move on to the variations I outline now as soon as possible. The best method is the pulley, as you can make it easier or harder by changing the weight. However, especially when you have first become injured, you may need to regress it below the bottom weight. To do this, take your other hand and just take a little bit of weight off in order to feel it in the right area. Resistance bands. Very similar in stance to the pulley. Little bit of a squat and go. A lot simpler in terms of making it easier or harder, but less effective in terms of tracking your progress. Tie the band to a pole, door handle, or anything sturdy, and apply the same movement, bringing the arm from in to out. To make it harder, simply walk further away from the anchor point. To make it easier, move closer to the anchor point. Start with a lightish band, as a heavy band will ramp up the difficulty way too quickly, from 0 to 100. Dumbbells. For this, you'll be dealing with very light weight. If you're injured, the initial stages could be 1 kg or even lighter, say like a bottle of water. Lie on the side and bring the dumbbell out only as far as your rotator cuff takes you. Regardless if this is on the side or using the pulley, the same area should be driving the movement. Obviously, to make it harder, just increase the weight. So, isometrics for all three. If you are struggling to feel the right area working, something I often do is start with an isometric. Brace pelvic floor and see if you can feel this area working. Once you find it, do not let the tension loose. Move back and forth only as much as you do not lose that tension. If you move one way and the tension feels like it will go, then move the other way. If you move that way and the tension starts going away, then go back in the opposite direction again. Just move between these two boundaries, and over time, the range will increase. Whilst learning, engaging the right muscles is way more important than the exercise looking perfect. Lie on the side, elbow on the side, and rotate like this against gravity. To make harder, progressively stretch your arm out more. After this, you can hold a bottle of water. But with no equipment, I think this is as far as you can go with this variation. Quick note on above the head rotator cuff work. If you really want to do these, I would plant your elbow on a surface, as it will make the exercise way easier to zone into the right areas working. But in my experience, I have found this variation is not necessary. As long as we get some general strength into your rotator cuff and then incorporate it into your bigger overhead movements, you'll be fine. If you come to this video through a rehab or strength program video, follow the sets and reps I've outlined there. Otherwise, do a regression that allows you to hit 8 to 15 reps for 1 or 2 sets. Once you can hit 15, make it harder and go down to 8 reps. This is a prehab exercise, so stick these into your warm-up before breaking and working out. Anyways, that was the video. If you found this useful, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to put out more videos on different injuries and how to strengthen in the best way. Also, please give your feedback in the comments below. Ask any questions. Let me know what wasn't clear for you, as I'm aware this is all new information, and it will help make my message even better. Otherwise, until next time, train hard and stay safe.